Welcome to Scoreography, a podcast about the greatest sport on ice, figure skating. I'm Wendy Buskey.
And I'm Adrian Buskey, and this is another one of our summer news episodes. The marquee news is going to be the announcement of Kaori Sakamoto's retirement plans.
And don't get too scared if you haven't seen it yet. We do get her for one more season.
Right. There's no surprise involved in that, but we'll get more into it here in a second. And there's a bunch of other random stuff that we want to cover too. But before we get into all of that, we do want to talk about a pretty unique experience that we had this weekend. So the day before we're recording this episode, we got to go do some video coverage of an event called the North American Adult Synchronized Skating Camp. Now, while we cover all things elite competitive figure skating, we haven't really done a lot with synchronized stuff. Some of you, our listeners, have requested that we do some level of coverage for it, but we don't really know a whole lot about it. But we ended up having this pretty significant training event by NAASC, again, North American Adult Synchronized Skating Camp, essentially in our backyard. They were here in the St. Louis area training at the Maryville University Hockey Center. And so we got an opportunity to go out and shoot on site, do a bunch of interviews, see the training in process. We got to talk to one of their featured trainers, multi-time American national men's champion and Olympic bronze team medalist, Jeremy Abbott, which was really cool. It was just a really unique experience.
It really was. And I would be very remiss not to give a gigantic bit of thanks to the founder and director, Ashley Carlson, the COO, her husband, Ryan Carlson, and assistant director, Victoria Smith, all of whom allowed us to participate as observers of this event and record at it. And man, it made me fall in love with Synchro. Listening to them talk about it, watching the participants have what appeared to be the absolute time of their lives, as hard as some of it was, it just seemed like the best vibes I have participated in a long time.
So we're going to actually have a full video feature coming about that experience. That'll only be on YouTube when that comes out, because that is going to be a video feature and probably our first significant foray into on-camera work ourselves and this level of production. But I'm really excited about it. The interviews that we did are very, very cool. Like you just said, the energy, the positivity, the emotional connection that these athletes, whether they are people who have competed, some of them internationally, and some of them are people who started skating like a year ago,
Exactly.
Just such a unique experience that obviously they were in love with, and the people who put on this camp are so passionate about it.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, one of the people we interviewed is an amazing coach named Danielle Astrower, who actually was the head coach of the 2025 ISU World Junior Synchronized Skating Champions, which is, oh my God, amazing. But listening to her talk about the different levels of skaters, how each of them approach, and just talk about synchronized skating as a discipline, between her and the way Jeremy Abbott described it, it just hit my heartstrings. So I really, really can't wait for all of you to hear it.
So that's going to be a couple of weeks while we get the production all put together for that. But we're very, very excited for you guys to see that. I got to tell you, there's one thing we got to do right at the end, which was we were rinkside while they had about 72 athletes on the ice doing this synchronized propeller maneuver, windmill. I don't know what to call it offhand.
We have to learn these terms now.
Yes. But it's not something that you see in competition very much, because most competition, I think it's somewhere between like 12 and 16 athletes are on the ice at any given time. And this was a huge number of people, but standing right by the ice as those people swing around in this big thing. And it'll all make sense when you see the video, because Victoria Smith actually got onto the ice with our camera and shot it from the ice.
Amazing.
And it's so, so cool. But being next to it when that many people go by, it's like being at the boards for like something like NASCAR, when someone just goes by with speed and that sense of energy, or maybe like being next to a roller coaster. Like when a roller coaster swings by you really fast and you have that sense of motion and inertia, that's what it felt like to be next to it. I can't imagine what it was like to be on the ice for it. It seemed like it was so much fun, but it was so striking in person. So anyway, it was a great experience. Everybody involved with that organization is so cool. We had so much fun hanging out with them, and yeah, can't wait to share that with you.
But let's talk about our feature of the day, which is, as you mentioned, Kaori Sakamoto, our Queen Kaori, announced that she will be retiring at the end of the 2025-2026 season. Not a surprise, but still a little heartbreaking, I gotta admit.
Yeah, Kaori is, I think at this point, 25 or 26 herself.
She'll be 26 at the Olympics, and she feels like that's enough.
She has been in the sport for a really long time, and she is a 3-time world champion. She got the silver at the Worlds this last year. I would say that she is still probably the favorite for the Olympics gold, although, I mean, Alyssa obviously made a huge case for herself winning Worlds this year. But Kaori has that experience, that drive, that ability, and just such an extraordinary presence on the ice. She is such a wonderful personality in the sport. Having her come to prominence after winning the bronze at the last Olympics and then becoming that 3-time reigning world champion, I think it's just such an important thing for the sport. She is such a fantastic role model for the sport.
She's an ambassador.
Yes,
like really
for sure.
The best ambassador you could ask for. She's funny. She's warm. She encourages friendship on the ice. Like you can see she becomes the mom at the end of every medal ceremony where if somebody doesn't have a flag, she is racing around the rink, finding them a flag. It's always the sweetest thing. And not having her as part of the skating competitive community is going to be hard. It's a rough transition. We've had her now as sort of the leader in that space for so long. But I am very, very grateful that we get her for another full season.
Yeah, and she intends to focus on coaching afterwards, which makes perfect sense.
Yes.
And hopefully that means that we just keep Kaori as a presence in elite competitive skating, because even if she's just at the boards rooting everybody on, her presence will be so welcome.
Oh my God.
And
every time.
Yeah. Again, it's no surprise that that retirement is coming after the Olympic season because she's been in it for so long, but also because we had heard about her new programs coming up. And I would say that the thematics of them are a little on the nose as far as what she's trying to communicate.
Just a little bit. I mean, her short program is to Time to Say Goodbye by Sarah Brightman and Andrea Bocelli. Yeah, on the nose is accurate. But I'm going to let you tackle how to pronounce the free skate because it's all in French.
Yeah, so I think the free skate is a combination of 3 different songs. So it's La Vie en Rose, Hymne à l'amour, and Je ne regrette rien. And I made the mistake of not translating these ahead of time. So I think this is like The Life of the Rose, A Hymn of Love, and I think I Regret Nothing, I believe is what all of those say. My French is a little rusty.
One way or another, I do know that she had said about that music for the free skate, that was her choice and something that she has for a while planned to use as her like last free skate.
So it's very much her communicating that this is the end of the competitive road, but also that she has loved every moment of this and that she has loved being a part of the sport and what it's given her and what she's given back. And I think that that's real champion kind of material to go out communicating all of those things. So I'm going to say right here that Time to Say Goodbye from Kaori is going to be a problem for me. And I
like
mean,
in the sense of like, I'm sitting here almost like emotional now.
Oh, it's going to break me.
I know it is.
So I distinctly remember, and this is going to be a throwback because I don't think this happens anymore, but I remember going into a mall tape and CD store.
You said tape.
Tape. Yes.
Wow.
The time that I went in, I actually found a cassette at the store, and that cassette is sitting on a shelf beside us right now that I got at that store because it was called Tape World. That was the name.
It's the soundtrack to Transformers, the movie, y'all.
The 1986 animated film, yes, which I am an enormous, huge fan of. But they had listening stations in there, and they had CDs that you could listen to. And there was this album from somebody named Sarah Brightman, and I had no idea who that was. Even as a theater kid, I just actually wasn't aware because musical theater was never so much my thing. And I noticed that that album had a cover of Who Wants to Live Forever by Queen, which is one of my all-time favorite songs. And I was like, well, that's interesting. And so I just put some headphones on. I queued it up, and the first thing that played was Time to Say Goodbye. And I stood sobbing in Tape World in the mall while I listened to Andre Bocelli and Sarah Brightman sing that song. And I immediately bought that CD and listened to it all the time. So I have this weird emotional connection to that song. And we've heard other people skate to it before.
Of course.
With Kaori Sakamoto, it's going to be something different.
It's special. I also love from her, and I don't mean to rush past that because it is the sweetest thing ever, and I do adore you. But she also said that her goal this season is at least silver in the singles and the team, which I think is an interesting way to approach it.
At Milan,
at the Olympics. But I'm used to her just going in like, I'm going to win everything and it's going to be fine. In her very Kaori, it's not about herself, but also she is not ambitious. So her even just saying, well, at least silver. Like, it's like a little bit of humility, but I appreciate the goal and the chutzpah.
Yeah. Well, then let's just move into some various and sundry news. And as I scroll through our notes, I just spotted one that's later on and I almost had a freak out. I'm going to hold on to it, but you had warned me that you had just heard something that you knew that I would be very happy about. And I am very, very happy about, but we'll get to it. We'll stay in line. But oh my God, I'm so happy about it. But some random things from the skating world this week. One, Young Yu from South Korea has restored her triple axel.
Dun, dun.
We haven't seen Young Yu in a year because of that whole suspension debacle, and that is a whole other thing. But she will be back in competition this year, and Young Yu is a beautiful skater.
She's a beautiful skater, and this is really noteworthy with having not seen her in a year. We have Jia Shin now entering the fold for Korea as one of the likely favorites to go to the Olympic Games. You have Cheon Kim, who won 4 continents and looked amazing last season. Han Lee, who came back from her suspension and finished pretty strong at Worlds, without a lot of competitions under her belt. So Young Yu throwing out a triple axel and saying, hey, I'm working on this. That's a big deal and really makes that conversation for only 2 spots for their women very interesting.
Also notable that Alyssa Liu says she plans to reincorporate the triple axel into her programs this season as well. We saw her at Nationals and Worlds attempting it.
In practice sessions,
yes. So she hadn't put it into actual competition yet, which was a really good choice. And she wasn't quite landing it, but she wasn't falling down on it either.
She fell on a few.
On a few, yeah.
But still,
Alyssa doesn't fall very much.
No, she doesn't.
She's not going to throw that until she feels like she can get her feet underneath her every time. Also, notable that Young Yu and Alyssa Liu are like besties. So
cute.
The 2 of them out there chucking triple axels and putting some fear into the rest of the competition is pretty exciting.
Well, I expect we're going to see quite a few more like Ultra C elements being thrown. I'm curious to see who else is going to throw something down, because while those are the ones we know about, there's always some surprises. So we'll see. Yeah. I'm very curious.
And like we've mentioned, I think in one of our previous episodes, Rinka Watanabe is working on a quad sal. And I would imagine that Rion Sumiyoshi is trying to tighten up that quad toe. And there's definitely some Ultra C that I'm hoping that we're going to see a lot of, especially early in the season, some big attempts to see people try to broaden their arsenals and bring those big money makers into the fold.
I'm really hoping so. Something else I saw today that I thought was really interesting was that Gabby Daleman, a name that we haven't heard in quite a long time from Canada, competed at the Broadmoor Open this past weekend. She only did the short program, withdrew from the long, which I'm hoping was just she didn't have a long program ready. But her short program, from what I saw in the score, looked like she really threw it down well. It was almost at a 60. So for someone who hasn't competed in a very long time and at a small competition, I thought it was just cool to see her.
Yeah, this is an interesting bit of news because Gabby has been out for the last couple of years. She had really significant injury that I think she had to have surgery, and she was in a long recovery. I can't even remember the last time we saw her compete. I want to say that it was at like a challenger event maybe 2 years ago.
At least.
Gabby was always such a powerful skater.
Yes.
Like she has just a muscularity to her skating that I like a lot, but she's just been gone for so long. I don't know what version of her is going to show back up, but considering the situation in Canada, it's a fairly soft women's field.
If she can pick back up to the level that she used to be at, it'll be a really interesting showdown between her and Maddie Schizis for one spot for the Olympics.
Yeah.
I also saw that the pairs team from France of Kovalev and Kovalev switched coaches and are now with Bruna Massot. half of the 2018 Olympic champions. So interesting move right before the Olympics to change coaches, but hopefully one that helps them get back to the form that we saw them in previously, because the past few seasons have just been very much diminishing returns.
I've got to imagine that this is the last competitive season for the Kovalevs. My assumption is that they'll retire after the Olympics. And yeah, diminishing is the right word for it. I think this is a team that has a lot of talent, a lot of ability, but they just don't often put together programs that totally work. Every once in a while, they'll do something that's really striking. There was a couple of times this season with that Britney Spears Toxic program that I really liked. And one of the times that they did their James Bond program that I really liked. But most of the time, they were very middle of the pack. So making a change like this right before the Olympics is hopefully the kick in the hindquarters that they need to rise back up and become really competitive. It could also be really unsettling right before such a momentous season.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell, but considering kind of the place that they were at, why not? Just throw it all out there.
Give it a shot. I admit, I feel terrible. As soon as you said James Bond, my brain immediately flipped to a different channel, and I was mentally seeing Becker and Hernandez's dance to that last season.
So
and I'm like trying to pay attention to you, but also being like, man, that was a good program.
It was a good program. Yeah, no, I understand that entirely.
I want us to switch gears and just talk about some of the Olympic season programs that were now being announced. And what I thought was interesting was that the U.S. Fed announced that they're going to again do their Summer Sizzler at the Skating Club of Boston, where they said we will see some debuts of new programs for the season. Ilya will be there, Alyssa Liu will be there, Chalk and Bates, Amber, Isabeau, Jason Brown, Alyssa Efimova and Misha Mitrofanov, Andrew Torgashev, and Max Naumov, which made my heart a little happy. I cannot imagine that we are actually going to see Chalk and Bates debut a program here. Like everybody else, maybe, but they
never do that. They never do that.
They
They
not
show up
debut.
at like Skate America, and it's the first time you see a
You do
program.
not see their new program until the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll debut a new exhibition. Like I would be very, very surprised if we see like their new rhythm dance.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see whatever we see, honestly.
The one thing I would say with Chalk and Bates is that if they do go out there and do an exhibition instead, I hope that it is something new. I love the exhibition they were doing all last season with the long silk piece. It was so
phenomenal.
emotional. However, they did have a trip on that and a kind of a bad fall at one event when they were at the gala.
You've never gotten over that
I've never gotten over it. And I'm at that point where I'm like, don't do that in the Olympic season. Don't do those types of things where like you can introduce props and have things to trip over. Too much is on the line. Simplify those gala programs and focus on the prize. But it is a fantastic program. It made me cry when I saw it in person, but that's not what I want to see here. But yeah, I would be equally surprised to see them debut something at this.
Yes, but I'd be very excited if we see some, especially like some short programs debut here. I also saw that Riku Miura and Ryuchi Kihara, they didn't announce the music yet, but they are working with Shaylin Bourne and Marie France again. So good choreographers, hopefully equal great programs. And I'm just excited to see what they bring to the Olympic season.
This team isn't always super musical themselves, and definitely their coach Bruno isn't super musical.
At his own words.
At his own words. So I think them working with people like Shaylin Bourne and Marie France, that's so helpful for building really effective programs for them. And the last seasons were really good.
They were great.
Yeah, I'm pretty hyped about that.
So much better. All right, I'm going to let you take this one because this was Adrian didn't know this before we started this episode, and I added it to our notes and outline for this episode. So go ahead.
Yeah, so I didn't know that until just a couple of minutes ago, but Mai Mihara from Japan is bringing back for this season her short program, Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, which is one of my favorite programs. It might be my all-time favorite short program from a woman. I love it so, so much, and I am so excited.
I knew you'd be thrilled.
It looks like she's also doing the Planets free
Yes,
skate.
she's bringing back both of her short and long from the 23-24 season.
Yeah, and she had a very successful season
Yes.
that year, and then the next season didn't work out as well. I think she might have had some injury.
She did.
She had debuted some stuff real early in the season that looked pretty good. She had done a couple of regional events in Asia. There was one that was really strikingly different for her. I can't remember what the program was, but the outfit was very different, and it was just like a whole different Mai Mihara. but it makes a lot of sense for her to bring those programs back for this season. I like both of them so much. I love Mai Mihara so much. And so the idea of getting to see her skate these, and again, what I've got to guess is probably her final competitive season.
I'm assuming. I don't know for sure if she announced that or not. I know that this was announced at the same time Kaori announced her retirement, so I don't quite know that part yet. Regardless, you get another season with that short program, and hopefully she competes it a good number of times. I just want to see her be safe and careful with those injuries that she's still, it's taken a while to recover from. I don't know what to expect long term, but I'm just happy to get to see her.
Yeah, if you want to hear me gush about that Merry Christmas with Mr. Lawrence program, I think you can go back to our last Q&A episode because I can get to talk about it a whole lot. But it's
and
great.
You're going to hear a lot more about it if she competes again this season.
Oh, man, fingers crossed. I'm hoping. She didn't have any Grand Prix assignments, did she?
She did not.
So I don't know how that's going to work out, but here's hoping we get to see a lot of it.
Also, we had some announcements from other Japanese women. Mao Shimada announced her programs, who will still be competing in juniors again this season, but she is doing Get Happy by Judy Garland and Sing Sing Sing, Benny Goodman. Caitlin Weaver is choreographing that as her short program. They have worked together before, and they are a great match, so cannot wait to see that. And then her free skate will be to Miracle by Yoshiki and Sarah Brightman, and that's another Marie-France Dubuis.
I don't quite know what to make of these. I'm not the biggest fan of Get Happy or Sing Sing Sing.
I love Sing Sing Sing.
I will say that Leah Pereira and Trent Michaud did a fantastic job with that this last season.
That was some great choreography from Jean-Luc Baker.
Yeah, and that
and
suited
Olivia
them
Smart.
super well. Yes, that was one of my favorite pairs performances when they did that at Four Continents. And Mao Shimada, I mean, of course, we're talking about juniors here with her, but we've seen that she can really interpret Broadway-style music really well, like when she did Defying Gravity.
God, her Wicked program. Amazing.
Yeah, so good. So, I mean, I have every confidence that she'll be absolutely brilliant with this. And again, we've said it a lot, but everybody in seniors is probably super excited that she is not eligible for this season because Mao Shimada would come in like a wrecking ball and just demolish the field. But yeah, that'll be really fun to see in the junior circuit this season.
And I saw a little preview of it on Instagram, but Mona Chiba also has her short program announced to Sakura, a Japanese folk song that Guillaume Cizeron is choreographing, which is very cool. And then her free skate will be to Romeo and Juliet, a Laurie Nickel program, which it'll be classic. It'll be beautiful. I have no doubts. No notes. It'll be great.
I've seen just a little bit of one of these programs. An Instagram account I wasn't familiar with got served to us, and I got to see a little bit of it in practice. And I don't know which one of these programs it was. It was just like practicing her new program, but it was beautiful. If I had to guess, I think I was probably looking at the Sakura one because it looked like Guillaume Cizeron movements. There was just something about the posturing and the way that it flowed that it looked like Guy's type of movement. She was so exciting last season, and
she's making a move.
Yeah.
I really feel like we need to watch out for her. I mean, she's now a medalist at the world level. She is a threat this season. She is definitely amongst the favorites for sure.
And then the last little bit of news is a free skate announcement for Italy's Conti and Macii, the pairs team. And they're going to be doing Caruso by Lara Fabian with choreography from Romain Haganaur. That's an interesting pairing. I don't know that I would have expected them to be working with Romain.
And they may have before, I just don't know it. But one way or another, I think that them doing a piece like that, I mean, it feels very on brand for them. But him doing the choreo, I don't know, there's something about it that feels like a move, like we are coming for that medal, whatever color it may be. I really do feel like they are putting out everything they can to make sure that they stay on that podium in Milan.
I think that Conti and Macii are really effective at a certain kind of melodrama.
Yes.
They're very good at lyrical interpretation and a lot of emoting on the ice. And as they sort of recoalesced over the last season or so, they've only made that better and better. So going into Milano Cortina in Italy, we know that a big focus for the Italian Federation is going to be the team event.
100%.
So them coming in with some really effective material is going to be so important, not just for their own discipline, but for that team event and supporting the Italian team. So I think this is a great choice. I think that if there was a team that was going to do this program, it's them.
For sure.
And we're just now seeing announcements, and we haven't seen any of these things for real yet.
Yeah, this all feels like there's so much hype, and I'm really feeling it still all through the summer, which is really cool because, you know, most off seasons are like you're seeing everybody's vacation pics, and you're still seeing a lot of that. But like I saw Jason Brown sharing that he's in Chicago this week, staying with his family, but also working on choreography with Roheen Ward. That gets you excited in June, you know, leading into a season. And there's just so much building that's already happening. It's seeing Ilya Malinin on vacation with his family in his Instagram, but then being like, okay, Olympic season starts now. As soon as he landed at home, it was full on time to train. So it might not be the competitive season, but it's on.
There's no time to waste. I think that all of these skaters, they have to be focused on peaking at the right time. And obviously the right time is like 9 months from now, I guess.
Yeah.
But they need to hit the ice gliding. Sort of works as a phrase, I guess. But there's really no time to waste once they get into competition. These programs need to be fairly well realized early on.
Yeah.
This is going to be such a competitive Grand Prix season. People are really going to be jockeying for those positions and particularly impressing upon their individual federations that they are the person to choose or the people to choose for those slots going into the Olympics. Some people feel like a done deal, but an awful lot of them are going to be up for grabs, and they need to establish early on that in international competition, they are dependable and shooting for at least a top 10 finish in Worlds and at the Olympics. So I think that that's going to be a big focus for a lot of these skaters.
Yeah, like you just made me think of another team I saw, Zinkas and Kolesnik working with Benoit. They are amongst those teams that are going to be right out of the gate fighting for their placement. For sure. And it's teams like them, it's individuals like them that are on the bubble. And I agree. I can already feel kind of the tension as you were talking, just so many competitions within competitions because so much is on the line this season.
Yeah, that's going to wrap us up. Like we mentioned at the top of the episode, we do have a big video feature that's coming in a couple of weeks. So whenever that one lands, that'll be a week where our audio subscribers probably won't receive an episode unless some other big news drops that week too, which is always entirely possible. This is going to be a crazy off season.
Yeah.
But that will be a video specific feature, but we'll let you know when that's coming down the pipeline. But for now, we're just going to keep watching the skating news to see what's coming next. And for Scoreography, I'm Adrian Buskey.
And I'm Wendy Buskey.
And we will talk to you next time.
Bye.